Welcome to the Habitat Information Session for January 2017. Hopefully you've had a chance to attend the session in person and that this slide presentation and audio recording will serve as a follow-up and a backup to the information. Each slide will have a audio play button in the bottom left-hand corner. As you move through each slide, go ahead and click that button and move from slide to slide. We'll be able to hit most of the agenda that you see on the page in front of you in the audio recording. However, you will miss the Habitat family story, which will be led in person, and potentially the presenter for neighbor impact, but I'll cover the information that was presented. Habitat for Humanity affiliates are operated under an umbrella organization of Habitat for Humanity International. You can see that there are other affiliates in our area such as Redmond, Lapine, Sun River Sisters, and Madras. Bend Area Habitat for Humanity covers the city of Bend for affordable housing, and the way we do this is through work with our community partners and donors and volunteers, our Restore, and of course partner families in the program. Bend Area Habitat for Humanity was founded in 1989. Our Restore opened in 1996, and we have a new location off of 3rd Street as of December 2014. And to date, we have built 115 homes. We're going to take the next few slides and talk about affordability of housing. And in this example, we'll use affordability for a family size of 3. If we were to look at the average rent that family might pay per month, that might be around $1,800 per month. And if we look at purchasing, an average home price would be $355,200. And in the range that we serve for this 3-bedroom home, we're looking at 40 to 75% of the area median income. The average income for Bend, however, is only $51,000, so that family could potentially afford a home of $247,000. So if the average home price is $355,000, then the average family income would not cover and not afford the family to be able to purchase a home. And finding homes for under $250,000 are very challenging, as I'm sure many have tried already. If you go even further than that and you look at the income range that we work with, which is typically $21,500 to $40,000, for that same family that could afford just a portion of the home and a potential conventional loan of about $69,000 or $183,000, so even more challenging. So we do know that those of you that have tried to qualify for a loan might not have qualified for enough of a loan to be able to afford the typical home in Bend. So that's where Habitat comes in. Are you currently cost burdened by your housing? If you're paying more than 33% of your monthly gross income, then we know that you probably also struggle with other monthly costs such as food, clothing, transportation, and medical care. We know that in Bend, a significant number of people struggle with affordable housing, and that Habitat can assist in this area, and we'll talk a little bit more about how we can make that happen. Let's take that same example with a family size of 3 and look at a Habitat home. Our average home sales have been about $243,000 in the last year, and we know that our average income is 40 to 75%, that same $21,000 or $40,000 per year annually, means that a family could really only afford that $69,000 to $183,000 loan. So we look at the difference between that and the average sales price, and we'll talk a little bit more about how we make that happen. That's what we call the Habitat Partnership in between. We're going to price your home loan at your affordability. So depending on your monthly income within that 40 to 75% AMI. And to qualify for our program, we need a minimum credit score of 620. We don't require a down payment. We do have you get involved with a savings program to help with the closing costs, and we also require that you have 13% or less of a debt to income ratio, and we'll review that a little bit further as we go as well. This slide discusses the difference between the sales price and your affordability. So to set our sales price, we start with an appraised value on the home, and then if you look further down the scale, you'll see that your affordability is what you pay on every month. Your mortgage is set on 33% of your monthly income. In between those two numbers, we have buy downs that might consist of grants or excess savings funds after we've covered the closing costs. Sometimes there's silent seconds placed on the home through assistance from the City of Bend or a Habitat silent second if needed. We have different loans based on each family's affordability. So what you pay is going to be different than what your neighbor is paying, even if it were the same exact home. When we look at the mortgages compared to conventional loans, then you can see the difference in terms of the same home price, the difference in the down payments and the total closing costs versus homeowners insurance and property taxes. If you don't have a 20% down payment, sometimes you'll have to pay private mortgage insurance. So when you add all of those numbers up in the end, you can see quite a significant difference between the Habitat model and the other types of loans. With the Habitat loans, we finance your home using the same federal laws that are true with banks and credit unions and other lending institutions. So knowing that we cannot sell you a home if your debt to income ratio is greater than 43%. So that is both your housing cost at 30 to 33% and then about 13% of your monthly debt. In addition, Habitat requires that you meet our criteria of need, ability to pay, and willingness to partner, and we'll go over those a little bit more, and that you are the homeowner so that the home is owner-occupied, as well as the unique right of first offer should you want to sell your home, and we'll review that a little bit more as well. Some of the basic qualifiers for Habitat include a bankruptcy 2 or more years from the discharge date, a foreclosure or short sale 3 or more years old, a credit score of 620 or above, that you are a legal resident of the U.S. or the qualifying income applicant must have legal resident status, and so that means that if you're a household size of 4, at least one of the adults needs to have enough income to qualify for the income guidelines for a family size of 4. Your short-term debt to income ratio must be below 13%, and the other Habitat criteria, which we'll go over in more detail, of need, ability to pay, and willingness to partner. When we look at the need for housing, we look at things like substandard housing. Is your rental full of mold, or does it have poor heating? Is your housing currently overcrowded or overpriced, more than 33 or 50% of your gross income? Are you in an unsafe neighborhood? Are there frequent car break-ins or police activity? And one of the other qualifying factors for need is sometimes that you've qualified for a conventional loan, but you could not find a home loan or a home in your price range in Bend. We'll also look at assets, and we'll take those into consideration, and special needs when we're looking at need for housing as well. When we look at need for housing, we're looking at things like substandard housing. Is your rental full of mold, or does it have poor heating? Are your heating bills extremely high? Are you living with many family members or roommates in order to make it possible just to afford the rental? Is it overpriced for your gross income? Are you paying more than 50% of your income towards housing? Are you in an unsafe neighborhood? Are there car break-ins, police activity? And another factor that we do look at is that if you've qualified for a conventional home loan but you could not find a home in your price range here in Bend. We'll also look at your assets, and we'll take those into consideration, as well as special needs. When we look at ability to pay, we're talking about the ability to pay a mortgage payment, which is up to 33% of your monthly gross income at the time of the credit application. And we start by looking at your household size, and then we go into the minimum income range and the maximum household income range. So the income verification will be that we need to look at employment, tax returns, Social Security award letters. We also look at your ability to qualify for a conventional home loan within 9 months of qualifying for the Habitat Partnership Program. We will also ask for landlord or rent and utility verifications for a year. And we'll also look at your debt to income ratio. We'll talk a little bit more about the debt to income ratio on the next slide or two. You can also visit our website for the income guidelines. In order to determine your debt to income guidelines, we first look at your monthly debt. Those things would include credit card payments, student loans, even deferred student loans, medical bills, vehicle payments, other loan payments, or family support payments. We do not need to include your utilities, your groceries, or other miscellaneous expenses. And the reason why we look at deferred student loans is that the payment will come due at some point in time during the life of the loan, and sometimes this can be about the time that your mortgage payment would become due. So we might take 1.5 to 1 or 2% of your total loan balance to determine that monthly payment, or if you have documentation from your loan that shows that you're on a deferred type of a loan or an income-based repayment plan, we'll need to turn that in at the time of the Habitat application as well. So we'll use the example of a minimum credit card payment of $50 a month and an auto loan of $150 a month, and a deferred student loan payment of $38 a month. That would be 1.5% of a total $2,500 school loan payment. So we're looking at a total household debt of $238 a month. Carrying that same example over, we'll look at the household size of 4 as a single mom and 3 children. We'll assume that mom works 40 hours a week at $12.50 an hour, that she's paid weekly, and that her 10-year-old daughter receives $650 a month for disability income. So those are the two sources of income that are qualified for this household. So we take a look at that gross monthly income before taxes, and we multiply that out by the number of pay periods per year to come up with her annual salary. Then we divide that by 12, and we get $2,167 a month plus the disability income of $650 a month to get the total monthly income of $2,817 per month based on this family size. That is an average of 63% area median income. So to determine the debt to income ratio for this example, we take the monthly debt and divide it by the monthly income to come up with 8.4%, and we want that to be ideal under 13%, which 8.4% is, and we start looking at that because we want to be able to make sure that you can afford your housing payments and your debt obligations and still afford basic needs such as clothing, transportation, and medical care. We don't want to put anyone in a position where they can't meet their basic needs. Now to determine your estimated mortgage payment, we take 33% of your gross income at the time of the credit or the loan application times your monthly income and come up with $928.61. That would be your estimated mortgage payment, which includes property taxes and homeowners insurance, which are estimated amounts. Willingness to partner includes sweat equity or volunteer hours, being involved in a monthly savings program for your closing costs, attending monthly classes and workshops, working with an assigned mentor, open communication, a willingness to have home upkeep and maintenance curb appeal on your future habitat home, a willingness to accept the habitat assigned home size and the location, and the understanding and willingness to accept habitat's right of first offer, which we'll talk more about. And very importantly also that you understand that you are a representative of habitat, that we're working together as a team, and that the big picture is that the community might also see you and look to you as somewhat of a representative for the organization. Sweat equity can also be defined as a partner family's physical and emotional investment in the mission of Habitat. We have 3 goals. We have partnership, we have pride and ownership, and we have development of skills and knowledge. Within that, you'll also have 500 hours to complete. These are all volunteer hours, but 200 of those hours are per adult. The remaining can be donated by friends, family, and other volunteers. 75 of those 200 adult hours will be done at the construction site. Another 75 will be done at the restore, and the other hours will be in required classes and pre-approved habitat projects, including mentor assignments and meetings. So we do require an 8-hour minimum per month of sweat equity, and we do reserve 16 hours of your 200 hours for work to be done on your assigned home. We have a strike system, a 3 strikes system, to ensure that partner families complete their obligations in a timely, fair, and efficient manner. So as we discussed a few slides earlier, if it's a 1-adult household, each adult is required to do 200 of the 500 hours. So take that and play it out in terms of how you can make that work in your life. In order to complete your sweat equity hours in 1 year, you would need to volunteer 16 or more hours per month. Break it down to 4 hours a week. And if you work full-time, can you fit this into your schedule? How can you juggle childcare if needed? So you want to be able to process whether or not this is actually a good time to do in your life, and whether or not you feel like you can complete this and make this happen. Part of the willingness to partner requirement includes setting up a savings plan for the closing costs. We partner with Neighbor Impact on a matched savings plan, and this will sometimes give you a 3-to-1, occasionally a 4-to-1 match, but usually a 3-to-1 match for your savings. So if you save $25 a month, they'll match that $75 a month. So we'll give you the contact information below in the notes section so that you can connect with Yolanda Vanderpool at Neighbor Impact to apply for this program. Part of the program will include homebuyer workshops and personal finance workshops as well. It's a great program. You do not have to be involved with Habitat for Humanity to become engaged in this program, but you will have an opportunity to learn and save towards home purchase. The savings program for closing costs are so that we can work together on these one-time fees that you have to pay at the time of your closing or your escrow. The total closing costs usually estimated around $4,000. Sometimes those can be more, but we ask that each partner family save $1,000. If we can get you involved with that match savings program through Neighbor Impact, then we can sometimes reach that $4,000 goal towards those closing costs. It also establishes a great pattern of saving each month for home maintenance and repair that you'll need down the road. In addition to the savings program, we ask that you stay involved in classes and workshops each month. Some of those topics will include home maintenance, property taxes, homeowners insurance, conflict resolution, and budgeting, in addition to your assignments that you'll do with your mentor, which we'll talk about next. We match you with a mentor because there's so much more that is involved in learning and preparing for homeownership that we ask that the mentor is more of a coach, and they become another set of eyes and ears for you, but they help you towards making progress and readiness towards owning a home. They help as a communication support, and one of the requirements that we ask of mentors is that they must have owned a home for 5 years. So they don't have to be a habitat expert. They're not someone that is a supervisor or relative. You can request that we match you with a specific mentor or someone that you have in mind, but if you don't have a person in mind, we'll try to do our best to match you with someone who wants to be involved with supporting a future habitat homeowner. Another willingness to partner requirement is timely communication. We can't guarantee that your acceptance into the partnership program assumes that you'll be able to purchase a habitat home. So we need to closely keep track of your debt to income ratio or changes in your income or debt that might negatively impact your ability to qualify for the mortgage. So at any time you have a change that's more than $500 one way or the other, we need to know so we can keep track of this. So it might include things like loss of employment, an increase in family size. We would request that you don't co-sign on loans, or that you have, if you can help it, any negative changes in your debt situation. We want to keep you as stable as possible until you can apply for the home loan. And we start looking at any income guideline changes that might come about of any significant changes. And if that does happen, we give you some time to requalify, or we start to work with you on that, but we ask that you be very open and timely in your communication. Another willingness to partner requirement includes the understanding that you're a representative of Habitat, and that means taking pride in homeownership, your physical ability and willingness to maintain the home's exterior. You might want to involve your children in the mission and the model, and the ability to manage this continual process of generosity and vulnerability as you're going through the program. It can become very stressful, and you want to look at how that might affect you and if you're able to take that on, and the continued ability to do this post-home purchase is important as well. Part of the Habitat model is the ability to accept a home that's assigned to you based on your family size and the location that we have already purchased lots in. As you can see in the map, we've built over 115 Habitat homes all over the city limits of Bend. But lots are not easily available. They need to be within the Bend city limits and work within our affordable housing structure. So as best we can, we will tell you where we think the next builds will be, but sometimes we may not know that at the time of the housing information session. One of the unique features of the Habitat partnership and our loans is the right of first offer. And what this means is it's about us having the option to purchase back your home should you need to sell it or want to sell it, so that we can hopefully keep this within our affordable housing options and stock in the community. So how this looks is that we take your Habitat home, we base the purchase price on the appraised value, and then we look at the shared appreciation. So in the first 10 years, if you want to sell that home back, then we give you back the amount you've paid on your principal. So that means not your homeowner's insurance or your property taxes. So if you are in a position where you've been in the home for more than 10 years, then we have more of a shared equity model where you earn more of that equity, and it would cost Habitat more to purchase that home from you based on how long you've been in your home. If Habitat chooses not to purchase your home back, then you're free to sell it on the open market, but keep in mind that you'll have to pay off other loans or silent seconds or grants that might be a part of that partnership to bring that house down to the affordable amount for you. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. We'll go over more classes in the program that discusses how this model looks in more detail. We'll take the next few slides to start looking at future habitat homes, and one of the things that we've been looking at, because the price of the land is so expensive, is that we are doing higher density models of home building. So looking at townhomes, duplexes, triplexes, in the near future hopefully cottage communities where you have a single family detached unit but you're in more of a shared space. At this time we're building the townhome duplex style of homes where you share a firewall, but there's higher density insulation, there's a sound barrier, the homes are extremely safe, they have strong resale value, but this allows us to build more homes for more family on land that is very expensive. Generally all the habitat homes are between 1,100 and 1,200 square feet, usually between 2 and 4 bedrooms, and at least 1.5, but most often 2 baths. Depending on the property configurations, it may include a garage if we can. Currently our landscaping includes more native plants, xeriscaping, so that there's less cost to the homeowner. If you want to install things later, that we leave that up to the homeowner. Homes are all extremely energy efficient. We use in-floor radiant heat system, tankless water heaters, we use a maximum insulation, and we give homeowners some options of pre-approved finishes, so laminate countertops, some paint colors, lighting fixtures, and the number of bedrooms is determined on your household size at the time of the partnership application. So children of opposite genders will usually have their own bedrooms. If it is children of the same gender and they're within 2 to 3 years apart, we might ask that those children share a bedroom. So if you have a large family and you feel like it might be difficult to fit in the maximum 4-bedroom house build, you might want to take that into consideration. So everyone moves at a different pace, and the way we assign homes becomes a complicated process as well because of the program requirements and folks' ability to complete their sweat equity and their savings account. But we keep you informed every month with updates and reports, and try to bring our construction crew in to some of those meetings as well, so we try to inform you when changes happen real time. One of the questions that we get asked quite a bit is if a materials donation or a discount on professional services will affect your home price. And if someone donates materials, labor, or cash towards your home, we want you to know that it does not help buy down your specific mortgage. We do use funding to offset home building costs, and it comes through a number of different donations in materials and labor. But if your uncle, say for example, owned a roofing company and wanted to donate materials and time, it doesn't necessarily bring down the sales price of your specific home. All of the donations and reduced service labor that we receive are counted as a donation towards Bend Habitat and not to a specific family. So this allows us to serve more families in our community rather than just one. So we try to make the most of that donor and donation. However, there are times when your home will look slightly different than your neighbor's home. If we had a cabinet maker donate specialty cabinets, we're going to go ahead and take that donation and do our best to work with that vendor and also continue to work with that vendor maybe down the road on other products. But there are variations from home to home based on the donations we receive. Some of the additional benefits of partnering with Habitat include an immediate group of supporters that are behind you, hoping for your success. There are more resource referrals. We're a networking community to provide a hand up, and that there's other opportunities for personal and professional growth while you're going through the program. So if all this is sounding interesting and manageable for you, let's take a look at the 5 steps toward Habitat homeownership. We start with step 1, which is attending an information session or listening to an information session, which is where you are today. And within the next 2 weeks, we ask that you return an intake form and waivers. And if everything looks like you're close to being mortgage ready for our program, we will schedule an intake appointment with you, a one-on-one intake session where we look at your specific requirements towards the Habitat program application. Step 3 includes an open application cycle where you submit the Habitat application, and we anticipate that might be sometime in February, but we'll post those dates specifically on our website, and we will let individual applicants know as well. And step 4, if you're selected to partner with Habitat, that is an 8 to 12 week process. This includes program application, committee review, home visits, and then finally board approval. And then you're selected for the program, in which you start running through all of the requirements we talked about earlier, and then finally apply for that home loan after meeting the requirements. And that usually takes folks between 12 and 24 months. So if you do meet most of our qualification requirements, we'll schedule an intake appointment with you. If you don't meet the basic program requirements, we'll send you a letter, we'll give you some recommendations and some folks that you can talk to in the community that will help get you closer to the Habitat qualification requirements. If we do schedule an intake appointment, what we'll want you to do before that first appointment is fill out the privacy statements and disclosures, and we'll send you a checklist of materials to bring with you before that first appointment. And then we'll review some of your personal information forms and start developing a strategy, looking at any potential obstacles, creating some goals together. And if the work needs to continue on to a third appointment, we'll make more of an action plan for that open application cycle, and then we'll start preparing you for that program application. So if you have more questions about our qualification guidelines, you can go to our website and look for the eligibility tab. But if you don't meet the basic eligibility guidelines, don't panic if you see what's required by law to be called an adverse action letter. It'll give you some follow-up suggestions, and in some cases it will address the issue of how you might proceed in order to become qualified. But we'll keep you informed via our website and our database and let you know when that next application round might be. For questions and answers that you might have, you can also look to our website, or if there was something that was left unanswered for you after listening to the entire presentation and the attached notes, then go ahead and give the office a call.